Hi guys, Asmo here, and today I have for you the long-awaited showcase slash guide slash just a video talking about the build that I was playing. In many of the videos in the background, the videos that I recently released had this Cleave Slayer gameplay in the background, and a lot of people have been asking, holy shit, what is that skill, what is this build? And it is Cleave Slayer. So my little project here was to try to make Slayer, Cleave, or just Cleave in general look so good that people will actually want to play it, and I think I accomplished this goal judging by a lot of the comments in my previous videos of people asking what is this and how can they make this build, and they want to play it and it looks so cool and satisfying, largely because of the Herald MTX combined with the explosions. So I'm going to explain how I made this build and basically what was the idea behind it. So my inspiration for it was actually the Divergent Cleave gem that I found while heisting, because it gives you 40% increased area of effect while not dual wielding. So basically if you just use one weapon, whether it's a one-handed weapon or two-handed weapon, you get 40% increased AoE. So I thought, what if we make Cleave with big AoE? And what if we also combine this with the new explode tech that everybody is using? So basically, if you were not aware, there are a lot of builds going around that are using a combination of physical damage converted to fire, combined with physical explode, which is also converted to fire, combined with Herald of Ash explosions, and combined with ignite and ignite proliferation. So all of those together are chaining and destroying huge packs of monsters in a very satisfying way with the Herald MTX as well, and this is what helps the clear immensely. This makes it so that whatever build you play, if you can take advantage of those mechanics, you're gonna be having a really good time. So because of that, we have a lot of source of explode. So we have a weapon of explode. So this axe has 25% chance for enemies to explode when we kill them, and they deal a tenth of their max life as physical damage. And then we also have two cluster jewels that have the Devastator node, which gives me attack damage, increased attack damage with ailments from attack skills, as well as 15% chance to explode in here and 15% chance to explode in here. So this is 30 and then here 25, so that's 55% chance for enemies to explode, dealing physical damage. We are converting all of our damage to fire. So here are some of the sources of conversion I have. We have the Watcher's Eye, which converts 35% of physical damage to fire. Then we also have this mastery here. Fire mastery converts 40% phys damage to fire. And then we also have gloves that convert the remaining amount to fire. And that gives me 100% conversion for my skill and for the explodes as well. And of course, because we're scaling physical damage, we have a physical axe, and we are taking advantage of the fact that the heralds, like Herald of Ash, gives you a percentage of your physical damage as fire damage. So that's how we're scaling this. There are many different ways of scaling this. You could go cold, you could probably get way more damage if you went cold, but I wanted to just go for the ignite spreading. I thought initially that I'm gonna do something with the gloves, but gloves unfortunately need to be +1 to frenzy charges the way I'm scaling this, because otherwise we would just have no single target damage, because it's not that easy to get a huge single target damage on Cleave while also maintaining all of this extra stuff that we have for the clear, and while also sticking to going with the fire proliferation and so on. So we went with the frenzy charges and the crafted gloves that I'm going to explain in a moment, but that meant that I couldn't get proliferation for ignite here. The ignite proliferation is not that big of a deal. A lot of the time it doesn't even matter, but sometimes it adds an extra chain when you're spreading this. So I got a Megalomaniac. We got a Megalomaniac here that has Fan the Flames, and that means the ignites that I inflict spread to other enemies within a radius of 15. So there is an extra spread from the ignites from my Cleave to the sides. If the explode, for example, doesn't go off, if the Herald doesn't kill, that's extra damage. And this often happens where I kill a pack of monsters, and then our remaining few monsters sits to the side, and one of them is burning with ignite, and then he burns with ignite, then he explodes and kills the rest. So the chain continues. So that's how we're scaling the clear. We also have a bunch of AoE. I'm picking up a lot of generic AoE on this tree. So if you type area, We've got the generic AoE, for example, from the two-handed nodes. We've got the large cluster Titanic swings, and an important thing here that we're scaling generic AoE, not the melee AoE, right? So I don't care that much about my Cleave AoE, although it's pretty big as well, but I'm not picking the melee Cleave. I'm picking something that is gonna increase the AoE of my heralds as well as the physical explodes as well. So we have AoE here, AoE on these, and then we also have a mastery. When I have a sand stance, I get generic 15% AoE. Where else do we have area? We also have area on our helmet, for example. We can have area on a craft, on an amulet. There's a bunch of places where you can get area, but we have enough AoE for this to spread very nicely. So let me maybe go in order through the gear that we have on this character, and then go through the skill gems and then the passives. So in terms of the gear, we have the axe first, synthesized base. Maybe one more note about the gear. The gear is like, I didn't want to really make a guide for this video because I don't really want to recommend that you play this. Like, if you are interested, sure, go for it. And it's a very fun and satisfying build to play while mapping, doing some easy maps with big pack size and just blowing everything up. It's very, very fun. However, it's not a very strong build. It's not a very good build. It's not a build that I would recommend. It's just something fun to do with Cleave if you want to be a Gigachad slayer. And that being said, also, another reason why I wouldn't recommend this build is because the gear is extremely hard to get. Some of these items are either very, very niche or very, very limited in supply, so that you're not going to be able to get them. Like these rings, for example, with the +1 to frenzy charges, the amount of currency that I spend to get them is going to be like 1/10 that you're going to have to spend to get them because of the supply, right? So I bought all of these things before people were playing this, and now that I made this video, these prices are going to go up, and the supply is so limited. Like, there is literally no rings like this left on trade with the reservation and Herald of Ash buff effect, so you're not even going to be able to find these. The axes with explode are also very limited supply with the high enough item level to be able to craft something decent. There's only like maybe 3 of them available on trade, and once a couple people buys them, they're gonna be gone. So you're gonna have to go with other options, or you're gonna have to pay premium. So be mindful that if you're gonna play this build, this is not a really good build, and also it's gonna be very expensive, and also it's gonna be very, very hard to get all of the pieces of gear, and some of them you're just gonna have to craft yourself, and it might be very, very difficult. Like, for example, the axe. So I crafted this axe. Today, actually, I finished crafting this axe. So the way I crafted is I just got the base, and then I spammed the essences because we cannot go for the fracture because we're using a synthesized base. So I spammed essences of contempt, and the plan was to get at least T3 hybrid mod. So hybrid increased physical damage and accuracy, and then craft increased damage, and that would give me roughly like 190% increased physical damage with the essence flat physical damage, and that would give me some 800 something PDPS, but I actually hit a T2 increase, and then I exalt slammed a weaker roll of a hybrid, and I just went with that because it was only like 10% less than I would get through the other method, but it also allowed me to not have to use multicraft in order to do the suffixes, right? So for suffixes, we just do like prefixes cannot be changed, veiled chaos orb, block something like block damage over time multiplier, one of those, because there's a lot of different damage over time multiplier unveils, and then I happen to slam the increased attack speed just generically from the Veiled Chaos Orb. I unveiled the attack speed while rare or unique enemy is nearby, and then I crafted the increased damage per frenzy charge because we have 11 frenzy charges at all times. Do not craft the per endurance charges. Per endurance charges mods don't work on this because we don't use endurance charges. Technically, these are brutal charges. Some modifiers that give you benefits per endurance charges actually do not apply on this build. So that's basically the axe. Then we have the chest piece, which is replica Pharaoh's Fur. Like you can see, we have the frenzy charges and endurance charges coming from the aspect of the cat, and the aspect of the cat is on the gloves. That is gonna be something that you'll have to craft. This is a combo that is being used popularly in Flicker Strike builds, for example. Flicker builds use this. This replica Pharaoh's Fur basically makes it so that you're gaining maximum frenzy and maximum endurance charges when you gain the cat's agility, and you put a less duration gem into the same item that you have the cut skill in, so that you lower the duration and this goes faster, and basically before your charges expire you get them refreshed, so you permanently have frenzy charges and brutal charges up. And what are brutal charges? Where that comes from our belt. So this belt is very, very powerful for Slayer, because Slayer has this ascendancy node that says here your maximum endurance charge is equal to your maximum frenzy charges and +1 to frenzy charges. So that means if we are stacking frenzy charges, we are also at the same time stacking endurance charges. This +1, by the way, I saw some people play this build, they play like Flicker Strike, and they probably just copied this from somebody, and they were picking endurance charges without any like timeless jeweler in here, so there wasn't like another reason for it. People were picking like extra endurance charges. Extra endurance charges don't do anything. You can see here I have +1 to maximum endurance charges, so if that worked, that would actually give me 12 brutal charges, but it's always going to be equal to the amount of frenzy charges that you have, so extra endurance charges don't give you anything. So brutal charges give you, as you can see, if you press Alt, 3% chance to deal triple damage and also increased stun threshold per brutal charge. The 3% chance to deal triple damage is huge, but it doesn't stack with double damage, by the way, so I don't recommend going for like sources of double damage on other pieces of gear. Just get the triple damage here. You can also get the triple damage mastery on the two-handed weapon and just stick with that. Don't go for other double damage because it's going to be inefficient. You cannot like roll at the same time triple and double and somehow multiply it. It doesn't work. It doesn't stack like that. So just Arn's Anguish in here occupies this slot. You can also get something with decent corruptions. Next we have another unique, which is the Dark Ray Vectors, classic frenzy stacking item. With 11 frenzy charges we get 55% movement speed from this. We get 40% reduced frenzy charge duration. That's why we need this less duration in here, even though we have some like extra where is this on this one, frenzy charge duration on the implicit here, but that's still not enough. We still need to run less duration in the cat skill gloves. Dark Ray Vectors also give you some evasion, increased evasion per frenzy charge, so we got a bunch of evasion and armor. I am running Grace and Determination, so we got decent amount of armor and evasion on this character. And then for an enchant, damage penetrates 10% of enemy elemental resistances. If you haven't killed recently, is the best thing you can get for like single target, for like bossing or like very, very tanky mobs that are gonna be by themselves. Next couple of uniques, we have the rings. So Circle of Anguish, this is like the most like budget version that you can go for plus frenzy charges for rings. If you want to go for a frenzy charge on a ring, the base itself on a decent item level ring will cost you about 50 divines, like 40 to 50 divines, just for the base of the ring to craft on, right, without even crafting it. So I went for these rings, which were much cheaper. However, you cannot find them anymore because there were only 2 with these specific mods. So we got Herald of Ash buff effect, also increased fire damage is nice, but the thing that I really care about is the increased mana reservation efficiency on both of them, because as you can see, I have 3 mana left after reserving all of my auras. So you see I have a bunch of auras, and all of these auras I have 3 mana left after reserving, so it's actually pretty tight with the mana reservation. And we have on these both Herald of Ash increased buff effect, Herald of Ash increased mana reservation efficiency. Both have +1 to maximum frenzy charges at the implicit, and one has like Dex and Lightning Res, the other has like cold damage and increased frenzy charge duration. So these are the rings. In terms of also further mana reservation efficiency, we've got the helmet. So this helmet is something that you can craft for pretty much any character. This is an amazing rare helmet like template to use on virtually any character that you want to play, because this gives you life, resistances, phase taken as fire, and tons of increased mana reservation efficiency. So the way you craft this helmet is you get a base first with the enchant that you want. So I wanted the Grace reservation efficiency, so I got the base with it, item level 84 at least. Nightmare Bassinet is like the best base that has the most armor and evasion. And then we roll this with an essence of Loathing. The essence of Loathing gives you up to 10% increased mana reservation efficiency of skills, and that is a suffix, right? So I used this essence until I got some decent resistances. So I got got a T2 and a T3 res, and that was enough for me to cap my res, so I stuck with that. You could get some better resistances and you roll them more, but they are pretty expensive per bulk. Like if you're buying in bulk, they cost like it's like 24 per divine, like 9 chaos each if you're buying them in bulk, so they're pretty expensive. So you just want to get decent suffixes, and then you can craft the rest with the Eldritch currencies. So with the Eldritch currencies, you're going to be able to use the Eldritch Annuls and Exalts and Eldritch Chaos to get some decent life or Armor Evasion, and then craft the remaining mod. I got a decent life. The T3 life is a little bit better than the crafted life, or very close to it. And then I crafted the physical damage from hits taken as fire for some extra physical mitigation. And on the implicits, we got the Eater of Worlds mana reservation. So we got the one from, I think, the Grand. I think I got the Grand ones. And then I used the Orb of Conflict to boost it to even better, the Exceptional or whatever it's called. And that gave me the 10% increased mana reservation. And on the Searing Exarch, you can get like reduced mana cost of skills, or you can get increased AoE for this build specifically. There are a lot of good mods you can get on that. So that's the helmet basically. The last item we have in here is the Amulet. So that's another thing that I crafted myself because I needed intelligence. I needed the resistances. So again, I was spamming the int essence until I got the resistances that I needed, and then we got the life from the Veiled Chaos Orb. So like Suffix is going to be changed, Veiled Chaos, and then we've got the non-channeling skills have -7 to total mana cost, and we got it on the right base because I needed the int base as well. I crafted this on an influence amulet. This is, what is it, Warlord, I think, right? Because the Warlord base had a chance of hitting some really good mods. So I crafted this myself, partially because I had a chance to hit really good mods. You can hit, for example, like I think Determination or Anger Reservation Efficiency. You can also hit some fire damage mods. You can hit AoE mod as well on this influence, on a prefix. So there were a lot of really good options. That's why I was crafting on this, and I could have gotten something really good. Instead, I got a kind of a generic amulet, but it fits everything that the build needs. 4 flasks. I got the Amethyst flask here, a Jade flask, a Granite flask, and Quicksilver. And we got some movement speed, armor, evasion, and crit on these, and bleed removal on a life flask, even though it's not really needed. But I don't have a corrupting blood jewel right now. However, we are immune to bleeding because we are slayers, so when we're leeching, we're immune to bleed. And the main problem of this build in terms of the defense is the Chaos Res, so I got the Amethyst Flask for that reason. I also rely on Pantheons, upgraded Pantheons for the Chaos damage, because I simply didn't have enough space on this gear to fit also Chaos Res. I could do like a small cluster jewel, but again, I'm still quite low level on this character, 93, so I didn't bother with that. I just fixed it temporarily with the Pantheons. So that's it when it comes to the gear pretty much. Now let's talk about the gems that we're using, right? So of course we're using the Divergent Cleave. On top of that, we got tons of really good support gems. So Awakened Added Fire, that gives me +1 to the level of the Cleave as well. We've got Awakened Ally Damage with attacks. We've got Awakened Melee Fizz, which gives me Intimidate as well. Then we've got Multi-Strike, just a regular Multi-Strike. And then we've got Awakened Fire Pen, which gives me chance to inflict fire exposure. So that also gives me fire exposure on hit. In the helmet, I got here Clarity. This is level 1 Clarity, which is necessary for my mana cost to be lowered. We have a Watcher's Eye here with the conversion, with increased fire damage, and also with the -10 to mana cost while affected by Clarity. So that lowers my mana cost. And as you can see, my mana cost is 0. I spend absolutely no mana for any of my abilities, so I can just permanently, like if I get like Speed Shrine or something, I can just spam this really fast and I never run out of mana, which is very nice. Then we've got Leap Slam, of course, with faster attacks, so we can move relatively quick. And then we've got Blood and Sand, which we swap between. The Sand stands for the extra AoE, even for the Explodes and Heralds because of the Mastery. And then, I mean the Sand stands, right? And then the Blood stands for single target damage. In the chest we got Enlighten 4, a link to most of our auras. So we got Herald of Ash. This is a Divergent Herald of Ash because it has increased AoE. I had it from another character. No, actually I had it from leveling this character because I leveled with this. It was very fun leveling with this, so I just stuck with this. Then we've got Anger. for the extra fire damage, and the conversion outruns some other aura. Anger is not really a good aura, but I need this for the conversion. That's kind of the main reason. And then we've got the Grace and Determination because we need some defenses, and then we've got also Precision because we need the extra accuracy, and the crit helps as well. We've got Molten Shell with Life Tap, with Assassin's Mark and Mark on Hit in here. I should probably swap the helmet with these for the auras benefiting from the plus level 2 socketed AoE gems from the Boot Corruption. But yeah, Mark on Hit with the Assassin's Mark needs the Life Tap in order to trigger because it would cost too much mana. And then we've got Molten Shell as well with Val Molten Shell. And in the gloves, we've got the Ancestral War Chief, Ancestral Protector, and multiple totems set up, so we can have both of these for huge single target boost. And less duration. I actually didn't talk about the gloves yet, so let me talk about the gloves. Somehow I skipped them. So I got the Frenzy Charge implicit because it is better than the influenced crafting. Like if I could craft, here's the thing, right? This is not a strike skill, right? So we don't care for any other like influenced mods. They're not necessary, like with, for example, Lightning Strike or Flicker Strike. So we can simply go for the synthesized +1 to maximum frenzy charges, and that allows me to craft like many more mods on these gloves that are actually super useful. So I got double T1 res on this, and I got Aspect of the Cat, right? And then with Eldritch Currencies, actually no, we cannot craft with Eldritch Currencies. Yeah, what we did on this one was I was spamming essences, I think, with either lightning or cold res, and then we got the other res, and that's all you basically need, plus an empty suffix. You craft the Aspect of the Cat on the suffix that fills your suffixes, then you craft on prefix, suffixes cannot be changed. Veiled Chaos Orb, block something, and then you unveil either life or physical damage converted to fire, which is actually the better one. You could also unveil AoE and +2 to AoE skills. But we need the conversion either way, so if you don't hit a lucky life, you'd rather just get the conversion from the craft and then craft life as well, because the crafted life is actually higher than the life that you can unveil. As far as I know, the life you can unveil is just the same modifier as this, so it goes up to 60. So it's better to craft the 70 life and unveil the physical damage converted to fire. And then if you don't have another mod, you can just X-slam it. You probably get some armor. I got the armor and life hybrid, which is very nice because that gives my gloves actually 92 life, which is a huge amount for all the stuff that we're getting. And of course, the synthesized implicit +1 to maximum frenzy charge. Just be careful, don't put any Eldritch Currency on it because you're gonna brick it and you're gonna remove the frenzy charges. Or even I don't know if it even lets you do this, but I'm not gonna try it. I don't know if it even lets you use this currency, but if you do, if you can, then you would remove the implicit here. So that's it when it comes to the gear. The gems, I think I talked about all of them. So now let's move on to the passives. So 2 cluster jewels, 2 large cluster jewels. What you want on them is the Devastator plus Titanic Swings, because this gives you the AoE and area damage, which is awesome. It gives you the Explode plus attack damage. And then Heavy Hitter at the back doesn't really do anything, but it needs to be there for these two to be in the front. So 2 large cluster jewels like this. Then we've got also Uncompromising with like a mana reservation efficiency small jewel in order to fit all of our auras. Then we've got a Megalomaniac. I have another Megalomaniac, I think, somewhere in here. There was some other Megalomaniac I think I had. I'm not sure where I have it now. But I had some other Megalomaniac with some other stuff. But basically what you're looking for is the Fan the Flames. This is not mandatory. The build will still feel good and the explodes will still feel good without it, but it's like a little bit of an extra insurance, and sometimes it gives you a little bit more explode chains with the ignites from the Fan the Flames spreading as well. And you can get them. I have you know what, I'm gonna link in the description a trade search for Megalomaniacs for this build. Actually, there are so many different mods that I went through and searched, probably like 20 different mods that you can find on this that are very, very useful. So I'll link the search for the Megalomaniacs actually in the description, so you can find the ones that fit this build yourself as well. Then in the jewels here, we've got Grand Spectrums. So Grand Spectrums is how I'm getting my element avoidance. So we get 92% Ignite, Chill, and Freeze and Shock avoidance from just running these Grand Spectrums here. I got one with Fire Pan and one with AoE. And then last grand spectrum, I actually, instead of going for the last 8% on the avoidance for ailments, I actually went for the minimum power charges, which gives me 3 minimum power charges, which gives me a ton of crit as well for this character. We are running Val Pact and Vitality Void plus Leech Mastery, because we are basically relying on Leech. This is huge amount of recovery, so the character actually has very low HP, but it's deceptively tanky, because as long as it doesn't one-shot you, you can just tank through everything, because you're gonna be leeching. We got Fortify as well. This is a lot of passives, so you can consider skipping this and just go grab extra life or extra damage or whatever you want. What else do we have? I also have Replica Conqueror's Efficiency for further reduction of the mana. We are running Champion of the Cause, and we are anointing, actually, we're anointing this Frenzy Charge because it's simply too far away to just go for that only one Frenzy Charge. We're not like a claw build that would naturally want to go into this direction, so we are anointing the last one to have it. And then other than that, we get a little bit of life, the Frenzy nodes, damage per charge. You can also grab these nodes. They're very efficient they give you a lot of attack speed, a lot of damage combined, so they're pretty good. And that's basically it. Not that many passives because we're still quite low level. You can still put like a few more passives. You can grab Exposure here. It inflicts at least 18 to affected resistance to boost the exposure that you're getting from your Awakened Fire penetration. And that's basically it. When it comes to these passive points on the Ascendancy, of course, Masterful Form is mandatory. Impact is the thing that gives you the huge AoE, which is very, very nice. By the way, melee strike range does not do anything for Cleave. Skills that have AoE, that they have their own AoE that they're generating, usually do not benefit from melee strike range, except for Cyclone, I think is the exception. Then we've got a Brutal Favor for Overleech, and then we've got also Stun Immunity and Bleed Immunity and Overkill as Leech, and also Attack Speed while leeching. So this is like a just quality of life node as well that we are picking up. And that's basically it. This is a very, very fun build, but it's kind of like, you know, we're forcing Cleave to somehow work, and it's still not a good build. But it's very, very fun to play. I'm probably going to sell this character now. I'm gonna post it on my Discord, and if someone wants to buy it, you can head there, and I'll basically announce when I'm selling this character, because I'm gonna be using that currency to fund the next character, which is probably going to be something like some kind of a bosser to do all of the remaining challenges. I still have tons of challenges to do, so I'm gonna make some kind of a bosser to do all of the challenges very, very easily without any effort. So we're gonna make some gigatanky bosser, probably Occultist, Herald of Agony or something like that. But that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.